Alright, so I have two announcements. Yeah, the class will resume next week. Is already done. Okay, I've announced that already. Right, next week will be a lecture test. Right, so a lecture test is more or less like a mock exam, just that it's not done on a physical setting. Right, so please study for your lecture test. Okay, all the micro topics, okay, with the exception of market structure, okay, will be tested. Okay, so don't study market structure. Right, so I encourage all of you to print out the lecture test question paper. Okay, and your parents will know how you fare for your lecture test. Okay, I will make sure I update them. Okay, so all the more you should study. Clear? Okay, so you can check the term schedule. You'll see that every 4 lessons we'll have a lecture test. All right, so this is the last preparation class, and let's finish strong. So before we start, okay, let's all turn off our WhatsApp. We don't need that. Enlarge my screen if you need to see me clearly. And if you have any questions, please utilize the chat function. Okay, later on during the time practice, okay, we will have breakout rooms for you guys to ask questions. So for today's lesson, listen carefully. Okay, these are the few questions that we'll be doing. Okay, we'll be attempting question A, A1, A2, B, and C. Okay, question D1 and D2 are challenging questions only for the H2 students. So if you like to challenge yourself for the H2 students, you can do this, okay, and submit to me for marking as extra practice. Right? So I would like to say it's only for students who are looking for extra challenges. Okay, if you are too good or you don't find this challenging enough, don't do. Clear? Alright, so question A, B, and C. We will have 15 minutes for you to do an outline. Okay, 5 minutes. So my time now is 2:06. Okay, you can start the outline. Okay, we'll end at 2:21. Okay, remember to turn off your WhatsApp. Okay, I won't be checking my WhatsApp. So anything that you need my private attention, you PM me here. Okay, see you. Right, you have about 4 minutes left to finish out your outline. It's not difficult. So please quickly finish them up and I will see you. Alright, one last minute. Alright, time's up. Stop writing. Okay, once you're ready, please turn on your webcam. Thank you. Alright, so I will be guiding all of you thoroughly through these few questions. And I hope all of you should be passing this. Okay, what's the passing mark? 10, 17. 17 marks, right? Yeah, I hope everyone should be getting above 12 because it's really not difficult. Right, That's only if you follow what we are going to go through today. All right. Okay, so let's quickly go through them together. I will get some of you to unmute yourself to participate, and with this, probably we'll get a gentleman to kickstart for the first question. Maybe Elijah. Okay. Would you like to try the first question? Okay. While the rest listen carefully. Okay. I would like you to listen out for the similarities.
Describe general trend from 2007 to 2011, which is an increase, but don't use the word trend now.
Okay.
Then describe an anomaly, which is the sudden decline of prices in 2008 to mid 2008.
Okay. So what?
And state the percentage.
All right. Great. Thanks. So listen out carefully. What Elijah has mentioned. So just now he mentioned about a general increase in prices, right? Alright, so I want you all to check. Number one, in your answer, okay, did you use the word trend? Okay, I would not like to see anyone using the word trend. Okay, so please get rid of this word. Okay, so you probably want to illustrate that. Okay, the world food general prices, is it food? Yeah, okay, it's generally increasing. Okay, so I also want you guys to take a look at your outline. Did you use any figures here? So if you tell me it increases from probably 175 to, was it 2011? 2011, right? 2011 or 2010? Yeah, 2011. Right? So you tell me that it increases from 175 to 275. Please get rid of all absolute figures. Okay, I do not need to know. Okay, and you do not need to copy and paste the absolute figures. Okay, so look out for these 3 key points when you're building your general trend. Okay, so the second anomaly comes in, or rather, just now Elijah brought anomaly. Elijah, can you repeat your anomaly again? Sorry.
The sudden decrease of prices from start of 2008 to mid 2008, and state the percentage decrease.
Okay, so there's a sudden decrease, right? Okay, or steep decrease, or fall in price. Okay, so always look out for these 2 R's when you are illustrating anomalies. It's either a reversal, this is a very clear reversal, okay, or a rate of change. Rate of change. So how do we identify reversal and rate of change? Okay, reversal goes against the general trend. So if the general trend is increasing, okay, the reversal has to be opposite. How do we identify rate of change? Rate of change is always consistent with your general trend. Right? So we only need to tabulate or attempt to tabulate when you are talking about rate of change. Okay, so for reversal, no need to calculate the percentage drop. Okay, only for rate of change. That's why it's called rate of change. You have to measure how steep the price actually went up. Okay, so I hope I've made myself clear. Okay, so no need to calculate for the reversal. Any questions that are not sure, you can put it onto the chat. Okay, and we can quickly clear them together. Right, so case study is actually quite straightforward, especially for the opening questions, but they're also quite unforgiving in the sense that once you get specific terminology wrong, okay, there is no coming back. Okay, so especially for the first opening question like this, okay, make sure you instill some confidence to the examiner. Okay, make sure, okay, you get them right. Right, clear everyone? Okay, so for the anomaly wise, you can state either of this. You can state a reversal or rate of change. Okay, don't use both. Okay, and whatever that you use as your second point has a lasting effect, okay, on your next question. Alright, okay, so now let's move on. Okay, with the use of a diagram, explain the trend in food prices. Maybe I will get Zach, would you like to try?
Oh yeah, so for this one, like I use the demand and supply, the general concept. So like I just say like it demand increased because there was a rising income, and then there's a change in taste and preference.
Alright, so how do we know there's a rising income or taste and preference?
Or the first extract, they got say, yeah.
Right. Okay, so look out for Okay, so the question did not necessitate you to use extract 1. Okay, but as a rule of thumb, some of the students are asking, Mr. Teo, when do I use the case material? You realize that all these case material here, okay, they are positioned or structured in a way that it is very clear-cut demand and supply factors, right? Yes? Okay, so now let's quickly run through this. Okay, so for continuing and slowing world population, is this a demand or supply factor? Quickly type it up. D or S? Quickly. Right, okay, it's a D factor. Most of y'all got it. Most of y'all stated D. Okay, so this is population. Okay, this is Egypt P, the keyword. What about rising income? Demand or supply? Okay, so most of y'all with demand. So the keyword here is income, right? Okay, so supply shock. Right, so which alphabet does it fall under for web pigs? That's the harder question. Realize that this is Egypt, right? P and I. This is actually Y, income. Okay, so my question is, we identify this as supply shock. Okay, it's a supply factor. So which alphabet does it belong under? Web pigs. Hey, if, for those that are not familiar with the framework, refer to the book. Alright, we have couple of right answers. Okay, the gens are quite sharp. Who else? Hey, Nas, Ashley, Nat, Elijah. Which alphabet do you consider this? So always be concerned, okay, when we are testing demand and supply framework, it always goes back to these few alphabets, Egypt or web pig. So identifying them as a demand or supply factor is not good enough. Okay, you have to go further, okay, and relate to which alphabet it is. Okay, so we have web pigs. You can see, okay, weather events destroying crops. Okay, so this is a supply shock. Okay, it's consistent flood, droughts, earthquake. Okay, transfer of some agricultural resources to biofuel production. What is this? D or S? Okay, Zach, Elijah, so it's getting trickier. It seems like I'm getting a lot more variety of answers. So the catch here is this. Remember, we have done this before. Okay, in one of the earlier extracts, we talked about biofuel and was it rice or was it something else? Okay, so look out for the keyword here. This is production. Okay, so if we are transferring some agricultural production to biofuel production, okay, it simply means that these two goods are going to be related by what? Okay, by supply. Okay, and to be more specific, this is competitive in supply. Okay, so P is the correct factor here, competitive in supply. Is everyone clear? So meaning to say, if I were to produce more biofuel, I will deprive production from agricultural resource. So this is what it's trying to say. Yeah. Now let's try the last one. Is it a D or S factor? Nat, do you type too fast? I realized that on the keyboard it is side by side, right? Right, so this is a S factor. Okay, fuel. Okay, fuel prices and cost. This is input prices. Okay, you can see these input prices. Fuel is a form of input price. Okay, so we have generally five factors here. Okay, make sure you spread it out. Don't bring in two demand or two supply. Okay, so it has to be one demand and one supply. Okay, and it's related. Okay, so the trend down here refers to the general trend on top. Okay, so whatever that you identify under the general trend, make sure it's consistent here. Okay, so as a rule of thumb, 1 mark goes to diagram. Okay, 2 marks goes to a demand factor, and 2 marks goes to a supply factor. Okay, so I'm just going to illustrate one of them as an example. Okay, so let's say, I think just now someone brought income, right? Okay, so later on I'm going to ban everyone from using income. Okay, this factor is not supposed to be used. Okay, Mr. Teo used already, y'all cannot use. Alright, the reason why I want to do this is I want to encourage you guys to try other factors yourself. Okay, and I want you guys to learn the keywords. Alright, so remember, okay, when you illustrate the 2 marks, okay, some of the key ingredients that needs to be involved is identifying the key factor, right? So most of you identify income. Okay, so income is the keyword. Okay, and this will lead to a higher demand for food. Income and higher demand for food. So I just want you all to pay attention. Normally, when income factors are tested, okay, the end product may not necessarily be a demand directly, it can be a derived demand. Okay, we have seen several cases where it asks you to relate to crude oil. Okay, so crude oil is usually a derived demand. Now, in this case, it's quite clear-cut, food is the end product. Okay, so there is no need to go through the derived demand method. Okay, so look out for derived demand. Okay, and what you need to go on to illustrate is, after identifying that income will lead to an increase in demand, okay, you need to use PAP, right? Zach, okay, what is PAP? You're muted, yeah. For those who have not heard of PAP, you will probably see them in your scripts before. Zach, can you unmute yourself?
Price adjustment
What is the
principle.
Price adjustment process. Yeah, okay, not the ruling party of Singapore, but you can, if ever you forget, then you can think about the government. Right, what is missing here? Okay, so price adjustment process. So a simplified approach is required. Okay, so you got to illustrate that what happens after an increase in demand. Okay, this will lead to a shortage and an upward pressure on price. Okay, and you can state the equilibrium. You don't need to state the equilibrium quantity here because the concern is price here. So likewise, I'll like you guys to try out supply. Okay, so there are remaining 3 supply factors. You can use any of which. Okay, so the outcome is going to be a shortage and upward pressure. Okay, so I just want you all to be concerned. Okay, what are the key ingredients for such question? Is everyone clear on this approach? Especially the PAP, don't miss out this. Alright, so question B. Okay, probably I will get, maybe Nasri, would you like to try? Try one reason.
I say that the government subsidize biofuel as they want to achieve equity. This allows the lower income to have sufficient dollar votes and will prevent them from being out of the market.
Okay, so to backtrack, okay, why do you choose the equity approach? Maybe you want to share with your friends. What are your thought process behind this?
Of course, I use the 2 E's, like equity and efficiency.
Okay, so you deem that this question requires the 2 E's, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so essentially this question, okay, is a micro objective question. Agreed? Okay, so if you're ever unsure, okay, what is the question asking, always learn to paraphrase. Okay, so you can see that whenever, in this case, the question is not that difficult to interpret because the word government is used. Okay, so when the question is asking you to guess the intention, okay, of subsidizing biofuel. So remember, okay, up to now we only have learned 2 objectives, right? The government will want to achieve allocative efficiency and equity. These are the 2 E's. Okay, so it has to be related to these two E's. Okay, so just now, okay, Nasri has already gave you the first answer, right? To reduce inequity. So it could be that biofuel prices are exceedingly high, right? So by lowering the cost of production, okay, producers can pass off the cost savings to consumers. Okay, and this will enable the lower income earners especially, okay, to promote affordability so that they have higher dollar votes, okay, to dictate what the market should produce for them. So these are the keywords that are related to the equity. Yep, so make sure you take down the keywords that I've mentioned earlier on. Okay, dollar votes. Okay, why is that? Why is there inequity present in the first place? It could be biofuel is priced too high in the first place, right? So the word subsidize means that producers will have to will enjoy the cost savings first, okay, before they pass off cost savings to the producer, the consumer. Okay, so these are some of the keywords that you need to be concerned about for equity. Okay, remember equity is about fairness in resource allocation. Okay, so you want to be fair, okay, to the lower income earners. Right, so just now Nasri brought up another E. Okay, probably Ashley, would you like to try? Okay, can you unmute yourself? Okay, how would you develop efficiency? How does it help to promote efficiency? Or did you manage to bring in this point?
I thought about equity.
Okay, well, so that's one. Okay, maybe who else brought in efficiency? Anyone? Anyone else? Okay, Nat, would you like to try efficiency? Okay, while the rest listen to what Nat has to provide.
I said that biofuel has positive externalities, so there's like inefficient allocation of resources. So then like how the subsidy will work to reduce the MPC so that there's no more deadweight loss.
Okay. Good guess. Okay, but but there is still something to refine. Okay, and I'd like to hear from someone else. Anyone else brought in efficiency? Boys, anyone? Boa, don't have All right, great,
just
good. Okay, go ahead.
no, just same thing lah. Just MEB, then bring up 6 steps, the 6-step approach.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
All right, so remember last week, okay, we actually did or 1 or 2 weeks. I can't recall which was the lesson number. Okay, but we actually covered this concept called of biofuel and conventional fuel, right? So you can actually try to decipher, okay, or guess, okay, what is the role of conventional fuel here. All right, so remember, I recall it was last week. Okay, we talked about the production of biofuel. Remember, okay, there is negative externalities. Okay, because you burn palm oil. Remember, there is deforestation or something like that. Was it one of the extract that we did? Yeah, so it can't be positive externality. So both externalities cannot coexist. Okay, must be one of them. Okay, so it is quite unlikely that there is external benefit. Okay, so this route is a little bit more tricky. Okay, so it requires you to look out for what is the role of conventional fuel versus biofuel. Okay, so we know that these two fuels are known to be competitive in demand, right? Yes? So now type it out. Okay, which one do you think is more environmental friendly? Biofuel or conventional fuel? Right, so we have all of you give me the same outcome. Okay, biofuel is cleaner. So how are we going to contextualize these? Okay, so I'm going to give you something that is beyond the answer key, but is consistent with what we have gone through some time back. So first of all, okay, you have to identify that biofuel is relatively less, emits lesser pollution, right? Agreed? So everyone brought this up. So how can we contextualize this? Okay, and relate this to externality or allocative efficiency. Okay, so you want to talk about, okay, lowering the price of biofuel, okay, will reduce demand for conventional fuel. Agreed? Okay, and when you reduce demand for conventional fuel, okay, it also reduces the MPB of conventional fuel. Okay, so this is how it looks like in the diagram. Okay, you may want to bookmark this. You don't need to draw. Okay, so for this question, there is no need to illustrate the 6 steps. Okay, back to what Elijah has mentioned. You won't get extra credit, okay, because okay, it is a 2 by 3 question. Okay, 2 points by 3 marks. So the 6 step is actually too much here. Okay, so you have to write even more concisely. Go straight to the point where how it actually restores allocative efficiency. Okay, so you can actually liken this in the form of conventional fuel. Okay, so you can see that, okay, the consumption of conventional fuel or production, I think is not that crucial here. It's going to lead to negative externalities here. So if we were to subsidize biofuel, okay, it will reduce, okay, the demand for conventional vehicle like that, conventional fuel like that. Okay, and we can achieve the consumption or production at the socially optimal level. Okay, so this is how the mechanism works. Okay, we have done this before. Okay, so it's not new. Okay, so you can consider this approach. So the fallacy is this. Okay, you cannot identify biofuel as exhibiting positive externality, because when you burn palm oil, it's still going to, or you clear forest is still going to have third-party effects on others. All right. So any questions for me with regards to this approach? So overall is to get the framework right? Like what Nasri has mentioned. Okay, what is the intention? Okay, we have to guess that it's a micro or objective question. Okay, if you have learned macro, then you probably can include some macro concept, but we don't need it here. So we only need to look at these 2 E's. Equity, okay, we need to look out for affordability, lower income earners. Efficiency, we want to look out for how, in this case, okay, a related market is suffering from the effects of overproduction or overconsumption. So if you were to subsidize a related good, okay, this can reduce the private demand of, okay, conventional fuel. Is everyone clear? Yeah, so remember, this diagram is exceptionally powerful. Okay, if you want to illustrate substitution effects. Okay, so don't draw a diagram later. So remember to keep your answer short. So I would recommend this. Okay, 1 mark, you can break it down into 3 marks each. Okay, you will get 1 mark straight by identifying the objective upfront. Okay, and the other 2 marks for explanation. Okay, so remember, this is not the right time to use the 6-step approach, especially for efficiency. So just go straight to the subsidizing approach. Alright, okay, I am going to move on to the last question. Right, so for the last question, okay, probably I will get a Dylan. Would you like to try? Yeah, unmute yourself, Dylan. Thanks. Okay, and the rest listen out for similarities. I
didn't really plan this question.
Haven't do. All right. Is it too difficult, or you don't have time? Ran out of time.
I think I ran out of time.
Okay. So important, okay, to manage your time when you plan. So anyone did the outline for this question? If the faster you all try, the faster we can proceed, okay, to the doing phase and end the day. Anyone can help me with this? Maybe I'll get Nas. Just try one consequence.
I'm not really sure. I just say that like the government will incur opportunity costs because like banning exports of stable food will require like a lot of funds.
Okay. So for those who did not do, okay, or did not use the extract, okay, it is quite likely that you have missed out. Okay, so remember to use the case material, especially for such questions when the question wording is very precise. They tell you export ban. It simply means that it must be found in the extract. Okay, so for those who have missed out, okay, I'm going to highlight the key components here. Export ban has been criticizing for bringing very little to consumers. Okay, while reducing incentive for farmers to increase production. Okay, I'm so sorry, I still miss out something. Okay, in the earlier part, okay, maybe I highlight in another color. Okay, so the intent. Okay, so some governments such as India, Vietnam, China, Ukraine have banned import of staple food. Okay, in order to keep more available for home consumers. So we can see that there are two colors here. Okay, so how are we going to fit them into the answer? So first of all, okay, we have to guess the intent, okay, of banning food export. Right? So what do you think is the intent of banning food export? Okay, it is the concept of adequacy, right? You can see that. Okay, obviously there is not enough food at home already. Okay, that's why you ban countries. The governments will have to impose an export ban. Okay, to protect the supply of the food at home. Okay, so you want to list down the intent. So how would I approach this question? You realize that this is consequences. There must be two consequences. Okay? So I will break it down like this. Intended consequence and unintended consequence. So I'll just like you guys to write down. Consequences is not necessarily bad, okay, from economics perspective. Okay, so sometimes, okay, in H2 essays they will use the word consequence, okay, but there would be benefit involved. Okay, so the benefit in this case would be the intention down here, intended consequence, right? So I've actually stated earlier on, okay, you can also deduce from the extract, okay, that by banning the export sales, okay, it can promote the availability of food at home, okay, or you can relate to supply as well. It also works. All right, so make sure you use the extract. Okay, so would not consider Nas approach to be acceptable because the extract did not mention anything about opportunity cost. Agreed? So what about the unintended consequence? Okay, after looking through these two colors. So now, okay, if you read through the yellow part, okay, the yellow part tells us what? It tells us that overall it reduces the incentive for farmers to increase production, right? So imagine, okay, if you are a farmer, okay, the domestic market, you are restricted to sales of food in domestic market. Probably if the domestic market, okay, has very limited purchasing power, they can't even afford buying of food, right? Okay, and if you are trapped domestically, okay, where, okay, you have a huge export market overseas, okay, would you still be incentivized to produce food? You probably want to produce something else, right, other than food that is not subjected to export ban. Agreed? So what happens is, in the long run, okay, this weakens the incentive to produce food. Agreed? And we'll see more and more farmers exiting the food market. Okay, they'll probably grow something else. Okay, and what happens to the long run availability of food? Okay, it gets worsened, right? Okay, there will be a prolonged shortage of food. Okay, if you put on export. So this is what it's trying to tell you. So, few key things when you address such question. Number one, always look at how you can split the question. Okay, so there are going to be two factors here. Number two, try to find supporting evidence. Okay, when they tell you a very specific policy, okay, there is an absolutely high chance that it can be found from the extract, and they require you to illustrate that. Okay, and number three, okay, consequences are not necessarily detrimental. Okay, so in this case, you are supposed to illustrate intended consequences, how it works. Okay, how does the export ban works? Unintended consequence is consequence okay, or what we call limitations. Okay, 2 marks each. Good, everyone? Alright, okay, so I've given you a very thorough outline. Okay, so on the flip side, I'm going to restrict your writing time later. Okay, so I want you guys to think through how I'm going to approach these questions. Okay, during the break. Okay, revise whatever that's necessary, especially the equity and efficiency ones. Okay, if you're not sure, refer to the earlier assignments that I've written. Okay, so when you're back at 3 o'clock, we'll kickstart with your time practice. Okay, good luck, and I'll see you guys at 3. Thanks. Alright, when you are back, please turn on your webcam so I know you are. If you have any questions for me, please type it out. Okay, great. Thanks for coming back. Okay, so I would like you guys to make use of this last practice to prepare for your lecture test next week. Alright, so the timing is 30 minutes. Okay, the breakout room will cease in exactly 30 minutes time. Right? Okay, so I'm going to open out the breakout rooms. Please join them. Okay, if you have any questions for me, please press for help and I'll hop in to help you. Alright, see you guys in 30 minutes time. Hi Ashley, is everything okay?
Yeah, everything's okay.
Okay, call me if you need me. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thanks for participating. Please turn on your webcam. All right. So back to the earlier part. Okay. Some of the H2 students still haven't replied me whether the timing. So I'm going to copy and paste the thing again. All right. So until I get all the H2 students to participate. If not, okay, I can't go on with the with the answer. Okay, so for the rest of the H2 students, can y'all quickly indicate okay which group? Okay, thanks. Thanks, Nat. Okay, so I still don't have Elijah and Ashley, right? So can both of you quickly indicate which one that you will be participating? And while Elijah and Ashley is typing, okay, great, Elijah, thanks. The rest can prepare a green pen, right? Ashley, please get back to me soon, okay, by end of today, all right? Thanks. Okay, so prepare a green pen, okay, for correction purpose, Alright, so once you have your green pen, I will pull out the answer key. So next week, for lecture test, is stated on your term schedule. Remember to check, like what I've mentioned, every 4 lessons will be a term schedule, normally at the month end. Alright, so the expectation of term schedule, okay, would be we'll attempt the paper first. Okay, I won't be going through. Okay, and I'll give you 5 to 10 minutes of technical break for you to submit your script. Alright, so the script submission is done on the spot. So make sure you have some means to submit the script on the spot. Okay, if I don't receive the script by the cutoff timing on the session itself, okay, then I'm not going to mark the script. Okay, and make sure you revise lesson 1 to lesson 7 prior to the lecture test next week. Really important because the lecture test is not difficult. Okay, it hinges on whether you have revised the first 7 lessons. Right, so let me quickly run through. Okay, so we have discussed earlier on in the outline session how to approach all these few questions. So for the viewers, if you are attempting this this piece of assignment, please catch up with the outline session earlier on to find out the thought process behind how we construct the answers. Okay, so I'll just quickly run through the answers because it has been pretty much verbalized earlier on. Right, so identifying the general trend. Okay, so make sure you get rid of the trend word from your answer. Okay, and make sure you don't illustrate any absolute figures in your answer. Don't bring in absolute figures in your answer. Okay, so check whether you have adhered to our principles. Right, so for the anomaly, you can use either of the 2 R's. Okay, reversal or rate of change. Right, so the reversal, you can talk about time period, where it fell sharply, or where it rose sharply. Okay, both of these are acceptable. Okay, so especially when you talk about rate of change, this word is very important. Okay, so if you talk about reversal, this word is optional. Okay, you may have it or you may not because it's not that important. Okay, so the word sharply down here emphasize on how much is the price increasing. Right? So check. Okay, if you have any questions, please type it out on the chat function. I'm observing the chat function. Right, A part 2. Okay, the trend here refers to the general trend. Okay, however, if they put the word trends, or if they put explain, account for the food prices, if they don't use the word trend here, it probably requires you to illustrate both general and the anomaly. Okay, but once they state this word, it simply means that they are only interested in the general trend. Right? Okay, so there will be you don't need to use demand and supply framework to illustrate the reversal or the rate of change. Just focus on the general trend will do. So notice how changes in specific question phrasing can affect the outcome. Alright, so we have done such question before. Okay, so the alternate phrasing that requires you to use both general trend and anomaly will be something like this. Account for the food prices. Okay, that will involve both, okay, general and the anomaly. Okay, so we don't need these two. Okay, so having said that, okay, now let's quickly run through. Okay, there are only 5 factors. Okay, so earlier on I have identified the specific 2 demand factors and 3 supply factors. So make sure you play within the rules. Okay, if you use anything that doesn't fall within the 2 demand or 3 supply factors, you won't get a credit. Right, so you can see that the first point was population. Okay, so this will give you the first mark, okay, for demand factor. So you want to relate to how this increases demand. I'm not going to put a bracket 1 here. Okay, and this is what I mean by the PAP. Okay, this is PAP. Okay, price adjustment process. Okay, this will cause a temporary shortage and an upward pressure on price. I'm looking out for this. For those who don't have this, you'll lose the second mark straight. Okay, so check your answer whether you have this. Okay, increasingly, I see a lot more examiners focus on this. Okay, especially for those who have met me privately. Okay, you realize that this term keep coming out, right? PAP. Okay, so look out for this. Okay, you can relate to supply shock, okay, or you can relate this to weather, adverse weather conditions. Right? Okay, when there's adverse weather conditions where there's supply shock, this will lead to a fall in supply. And to be more precise, okay, because of adverse shock or adverse weather or supply shock, okay, cost of production will increase. So normally supply factors comes with the word COP. Alright, so learn to integrate this word, okay, into this phrase into your supply factors. Okay, COP is exceptionally crucial. Okay, and this is the part on PAP as well. Right, so cumulatively, I should see, this will be the 5th mark, okay, a diagram. Alright, so if the question ever goes to 6 marks, okay, then there's an additional thing that you want to talk about. Okay, so you want to identify, okay, whether there is any ambiguity effect on the price, okay, or on the quantity. Okay, so always be mindful about the mark allocation and how to count your marks. Okay, 5 marks and 6 marks. Okay, there is always an additional thing required. Okay, so ambiguity approach, we have done this before in one of our holiday assignments. Okay, so I'm not going to cover this. Okay, is everyone good with this approach? Okay, can it just be summarized to P0 to P1? Can. Okay, so long as you illustrate PAP. Okay, so the criteria is you must use PAP first. Alright? Okay, so it's a generally flexible question. Okay, you can illustrate any of one of the 2 demand factors or any of the other supply factors as well. Okay, so PAP has to be clear. If in any case, if I wasn't clear of answering your question that you have PM me, then you just blast out again. Okay, sometimes I may not be miss out certain keywords. Alright, question B. Explain 2 reasons why governments subsidize biofuel. So earlier on, we have identified the key motive or motivation, or the key reasons for intervening is the 2 E's, right? Okay, to promote equity or to reduce inequity. 1 mark. Alright, so okay, you can see that a free market only allocates resource to economic agents with sufficient economic votes or dollar votes. Okay, so 1 mark. So dollar vote argument. The subsidy lowers the marginal cost of productions, which translates to lower price and greater accessibility to lower income household. Okay, and I put inferred from extract 2. Yep, you can see here. Okay, this is an inference. See? Poor. Okay, so we can read poverty. Normally, poverty is related in inequity. All right. The next the next part is about efficiency. So you can either illustrate, okay, that it promotes allocative efficiency or reduce allocative inefficiency. Okay, so these two words are used interchangeably. They're the same. Right, so I have two possible approaches here you can consider. Okay, so the first one is more straightforward. It's not what we have discussed earlier on. Okay, so the first one, we are looking from a relative perspective. Okay, so biofuel as compared to conventional fuel, okay, or traditional fuel, okay, it exhibits a lower level of external cost. Right? Okay, so in this case, okay, is the lesser of the two evil. Right? I personally prefer the second approach. Okay, this is what we have discussed earlier on. Okay, you can relate conventional fuel and biofuel to be competitive in demand. Subsidy lowers the marginal cost of production, which translates to lower price and a fall in demand for conventional fuel, which promotes a better allocation of resources, and to be more specific, in the market of conventional fuel. So notice that these 2 points, okay, they all tap onto the usage of biofuel, but the perspective is different. Okay, point 2b illustrates on substitution effect, while point 2a touch on the relatively less pollution perspective. Okay, and lesser or lower level of external costs. Okay. Right. So, production and consumption of biofuel cannot exhibit positive externalities. Okay, so I think we have done this before. Okay, production of biofuel will lead to deforestation. Okay, because you use palm oil or something. Right, we did this in one of the earlier assignments. Consumption of biofuel, okay, is still going to lead to pollution. Okay, just that it is lesser in external costs as compared to conventional fuel. Okay, so it cannot be positive externalities. So be careful, okay, when we touch on environmental questions, okay, positive externalities are unlikely to be present. So the key presence of positive externalities, okay, will be the extracts such as education, healthcare. Okay, these are the two main areas where positive externalities will be present. Okay, so whenever it concerns environment, okay, make a mental note, unlikely to be present. Alright, so if any questions, okay, please type it out. Hey, if not, later on you can stay back and ask me. Alright, so I'm going to go through the last question. The last question, as mentioned in the outline phase, okay, I will break it down into intended consequence and unintended consequence. Right, and just now and earlier on we have decided that consequences are not necessarily detrimental. Right, so for the intended consequences, we are looking at how it works. Okay, so you want to state, okay, the benefit. What is the intent? Okay, is to promote availability of staple food to domestic consumers. Okay, so what is the intent of promoting availability of staple food? This is something that I did not cover earlier on. You have to elaborate further. Okay, so especially when food prices are going up, then we can stabilize the food prices. You can see this. Hey, promote affordability. Okay, if you talk about food price stability, I also accept. Okay, because if you keep exporting, there will be a food shortage at home. Then this will worsen inequity or drive up food prices. Remember, it's to relate to a goal. Okay, this is something additional to this question. Okay, what is the intent? Okay, you want to promote equity. All right. So for the unintended consequence, okay, you can see that in the long run, it disincentivizes farmers to produce and worsen equity. Why is that so? Okay, so just now I've mentioned earlier on, okay, export ban will prevent farmers to sell globally. Okay, and therefore, okay, they are going to lose out in profitability and revenue. Okay, so if they are going to face a food ban, they are going to produce other cash crops that are not subjected to an export ban. Right? The export ban is only targeted at food. Okay, so if you produce things like cotton, if you produce things like steel, for instance, okay, then in that case you're not subjected to the ban. And then in that case, okay, this will reduce the supply of staple food in the long run. Okay, and in the long run, this will lead to higher food prices and lower affordability. Alright, so in a nutshell, the key concept that is tested here is still equity. Okay, because it's all about high food prices and low food prices, stabilizing food prices. That's why you impose a ban. Alright, okay, so with that, okay, I'm going to stop sharing. Yes, okay, I'm going to stop. I don't think I need to stop share, it's fine. Okay, but in any case, if you have any questions for me, please stay back and ask me. Okay, if not, okay, I will see you guys next week on your respective sessions. I will, as mentioned earlier on, for lecture tests, okay, I will recommend you guys to print out the question paper, okay, because it's going to be a full case study, okay, and you need, okay, to highlight on the question paper itself. So try to print out that beforehand. All right. Okay. So with that, hey, thank you for participating. Enjoy your school reopening, and for Ashley, remember to get back to me, okay, which class you're going to join. Okay. With that, thanks. Bye.